welcome to another episode of Stage Diving with Scotty. Today, my guest is Jonathan from the band Stairwell and Bloodshed, and I'm sure you've been in other side projects, but welcome to my show, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So everybody, we have a little bit of a past, kind of,
Yeah,
or at
yeah.
least people we were involved with, in a
And
way,
I
right?
think I believe our bands play with each other, right? Solace,
Yeah, Solace,
right?
yeah.
Right. Okay, Solace. I guess. Yeah, I definitely remember you back then. Always known you as a nice guy, so
I try to be. But yeah, and you were really friendly. I knew you were kind of shy. At least that's why I took you as a shy guy.
yeah,
And
yeah, sure. Back then, yeah,
well, it was
super
okay,
emo
very emo.
and what do you call it? Introverted type guy back then. Yeah,
So are you not that way now? Are you a little more
yeah, I'm a little more
extroverted?
outgoing, and
So Jonathan and I know each other, through friends because Solace was friends with Stairwell, and Stairwell before Jonathan came into the picture was the lead singer was name was I forget Neil's last name. Do
Neil
you remember
Samoy.
Neil? What was
Yeah,
it?
Neil Samoy.
Samoy. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay. So
So
Neil,
Filipino brother.
yeah, Neil was So Neil was the lead singer and guitarist. I remember Sean and I remember Kevin.
Hmm.
I don't remember who else was in the band. Do you remember that?
At the time, so
A long
starting
time
from
ago.
like the roots of the band, like Tim Cole,
Tim, not
he was in
Kevin.
a cool, really crazy
Sorry.
band called Resist, and then had a
Okay.
really as a hardcore band. What do you call it? Animated frontman Joey. I think it was Joey.
That
I
sounds
just
so familiar.
remember this guy just screaming at the top of his lungs, and I mean, much more ferocious than I've ever heard. Versus other singers I've in the scene at the time. So and I
True.
think he moved on to more familiar bands within the SoCal region. But
Yeah.
then so you got Tim there. Then Kevin was like the auxiliary instrumentalist, playing either violin or extra guitar. So
Mm.
that's where the third guitar concept came from. Then Shotstop Nick, who from After Us moved on to Rock Kills Kid. He was seen on TV. His band was on the television show from last time. I lost contact with him after Stairwell.
Oh, okay.
Then he had Aaron Wallman. Well, Jonathan Dean was actually. Well, there's no. I'm sorry, I jumped way too far. Dan Kelba, a really cool guy. He was the original bass player for that band.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
And then he got married and moved on. And then I was a bass player. Shotstop was a guitar player. Neil Samoy was the lead singer, frontman. Before me, I know Neil got involved with Steve Zaker, and
That's right.
yeah.
That's
So
right.
when I was getting a little more serious, they wanted to go on the road. He still wanted to do Stairwell, but Stairwell, they wanted to do their own thing
Yeah.
and move forward. And they said, "Hey, are you going to be in art with us full time or them?" He's like, "Well, I like to do both, but they're right guy now. We want someone else full time." That's the right team. So Neil went on, as you know, with Steve Zaker, and then for them, they got to a pretty good point, for their career for the music.
Did he? Yeah. How long did he stay for? Do you know how long he stayed for with
I
them?
don't remember.
No.
Probably just as long as maybe Stereo was around, like the generation that I was in, maybe 2005. I might be really wrong.
Okay.
So, yeah. So,
Just a little bit of time.
yeah.
Okay.
So that was that original lineup.
So
Uh,
let me ask you then, because you and Sean were also in Bloodshed, right?
yeah. Prior to that,
Prior to that.
and there was a band before that, well, in between, called Rainy Days, and that was a type of punk band that had a Dead Kennedys vocalist sound kind of thing, punk,
Yeah.
no distortion. Really like jangly guitar, rhythm guitars and stuff. And Sean was in that, and that actually was getting a little attention. And they got on Alarma Records, which was a Christian label down here.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and then um, but Sean eventually left, and I took over bass when another guy named Jeff Jackaway from Unashamed, he was playing bass, and I took over his spot because he left as well. And
Oh my
so
goodness.
Sean and I were both in that band, Rainy Days in Between, and then after that was Stairwell. So Bloodshed, Rainy Days, and then.
So what happened with, okay, so let me if you don't mind me sharing a quick little memory here of
Yeah.
Bloodshed. I
Oh yeah, of
remember
course.
so when Tooth and Nail was around, right? So in its sort of beginnings,
Yeah.
it was that thing where a lot of us who were um you know, well, at least, okay, so everybody knows I was brought up in the church, and so a lot of stuff that I was listening to had to be Christian-based stuff. When Tooth and Nail came out, it was new to have,
Yes.
Christian punk, Christian hardcore, Christian everything, from even like folk music, like Javelina Rail Company, Daniel's Son, whatever. There was just so many different genres within Tooth and Nail, which was
Yeah.
super, super cool. So around that time, it was like anything a Tooth and Nail would come out with, it was like I would eat it up.
Yeah.
And I saw that when Bloodshed came out, I'm like, oh, look at these young guys, and oh, it's supposed to be hardcore. Okay, so I busted it on and turned it on, and it was not what I thought it was gonna be. And yes, it was hardcore, but then you guys brought on, like, I mean, I would think it's a sort of beginning of like emo in a way,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
your vocals mixed with the other vocals. I forget the gentleman who would scream,
Jason Fleetwood.
Jason,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was such an interesting mix. And so I didn't know how I felt about it, honestly, at first, because I was so used to, like, yeah, Unashamed, Focused, Crucified, all these different kind of bands that were kind of hardcore
Yeah.
and or metal. And then you guys kind of come on the scene and have this kind of hardcore feel, but yet all of a sudden there's lovely singing and and then some melodic guitars in between the noise. So then I think I was just in at that point. I was like, holy cow, this is really good. It's very different. What was the time frame in between the self-titled and soft-spoken words?
I'd say the self-titled one was released, I think, 95.
95. Okay.
And then shortly after, the following year was Soft Spoken.
That was a change.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you listen to, again, self-titled, and you go to that one also, it's like, holy cow, this is like almost like full-on emo, like a
Yeah.
version of it. And the song that just, I was like, I want more of that, was you singing Sweets for a Child. And
Oh,
I love that song. And you guys, with that title too, the soft spoken words of Fallbrook is the full title, right? Fallbrook came to my mind and just became like my favorite word. It just, to me,
wow,
seemed like
cool.
such a beautiful word.
Oh,
And
totally.
so,
It is. It is. I like that.
so there's a lot of things that kind of was very influential for me from around that time. So lo and behold, years and years later, it comes Stairwell, and you are now singing for Stairwell, and it's like, I'm getting it.
Oh,
I get
yeah.
more Jonathan. I get more Jonathan singing, and it was so great. It was such a different take for me on Stairwell, because I was so used to Neil and some of their songs, and you
Yeah.
came in the picture. But this is sort of my evolving sort of history with you, because I
Yeah.
never got to tell you this. But it was such a great fun take on the sound that Stairwell, what I knew Stairwell was, and then what you took it at, what you guys kind of evolved it into. And it
Oh,
was
yeah.
and it was so fantastic to hear that. And then
I'd add,
go ahead.
when we went on tour with Giant Theory,
Oh,
there's
you actually did. I'm sorry.
well, there is a coinciding influence with that, with being with them, and compared and moving on to the next album. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you can get to that whenever you're ready. Sorry.
Okay.
So
No,
what were
no,
you
no.
trying to get at? Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. No, all I was gonna say was, and then you go, and then lo and behold, you guys come back. What, this year, right? And you came out with Lion's Den, the single, right? And
Yeah.
that was your first single for coming back together. So,
Yeah.
anyway, so I was really, like, a lot of people were very surprised, and then you guys are just kind of, seems like it's just kind of taken off now. Like the momentum's coming back again, and you guys are
Mhm.
playing Furnace Fest. My God,
Yeah,
wow.
that was definitely a good highlight for this year.
But listen, but what a way, pardon me, one hell of a way to come back.
Oh, for
Holy
sure.
cow.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
that alone just thank very very big thanks to Chad Johnson. That alone for him, rooting for us to get on and them allowing it. It had already kind of opened up the doors for us um, to get back into the game. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, and a lot of other bands that I've always held, in high respect were reaching out to us too and saying hi, what's up, welcome back. I'm like, wow, this is cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm stoked on that. So it was nice welcoming from a lot of bands that have been around for a while and say, hey, welcome back, glad you're back. And yeah, it's definitely, I say really significant helping us get back in
Yeah, yeah.
the mold. So.
Fighting from strength to will. Does it matter now? Hold your head on honor's hill.
So what was for you? I do say this a lot, but I am always curious. What was the sort of the spark that triggered music in your life? The love of like, I want to pursue music, you know?
It definitely has a big influence is my brother
Yeah.
because I got into punk when I was like 5 years old.
Punk at 5.
Yeah, uh, he was playing a bass in a band called Rebellious Behavior, and
Very punk.
I think there was another band before that, but it was still punk. And I just remember going in the garage and hearing this really loud music, some guy screaming, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" And my parents, they worked their 9 to 5. They were gone during the day, so I was left in front of the TV watching MTV, and exposed to like video, kill the radios, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and so I love that music too. Like I grew up, watching all those videos when they were coming out, and then here's this another new dynamic. These guys screaming. I was like, I even like that. I'm like, what is that? It's totally a lot of power behind it. I knew there was power behind it. And when the guy was screaming, I knew that he had something really important to say because he was singing it really loud. And
Yeah.
that's when I first in the garage. There was someone hanging out with leather and a big old mohawk. I was like, that was my first exposure at a really young age at that punk sound, and I digged it.
Yeah.
I love the intensity even at that age. Um, so with that coinciding with, I love that. So I had that in my mind, and whatever I listened to, on MTV. I also appreciated R&B, so I had that diversity as well.
Yeah.
So I love to sing, and with my family, being, you know, my culture has been, I guess, kind of associated with karaoke or whatever. I was always singing at parties and asked to sing in parties all the time, sing Bette Midler, Monkeys, or whatever. Like that. And so I enjoy that. I actually did enjoy singing and performing in front of people. And then, so with that foundation, and then also the other side where I like that other rough music, it was easy to get into that. And I got into Metallica and all that stuff because I needed music to my sound. I needed a soundtrack to when I was playing with my toys and stuff. I had to have a soundtrack to it.
Yeah.
That's how I got into at a younger age. And then I had was playing with little military figurines, and I wanted something rough in the background, some part of the soundtrack. And then Justice for All, one was like a really perfect soundtrack to my whatever I was dealing with as a kid, toys and stuff. And so eventually, with that, having to be dramatic and just playing with toys, that and then me discovering music, that just transferred into doing music and appreciating that and alone as growing out of toys. And then I was, hey, this music thing and actually playing it has become something I really enjoy, because where I started really playing instruments, I was always playing the piano because I was, kind of like introduced to that as a kid, as a lot
Hmm.
of parents would do. And I
Yep.
enjoyed that, but I couldn't really concentrate on really practicing all the time. I just had a hard time with that. But luckily, my first grade teacher, uh, it was kind of mandatory that everyone learned in the class how to play acoustic guitar. So she taught us,
Really?
yeah, she taught us basic chords,
Wow.
and that's where it really settled in for me. Like, I like to play this. This is awesome. This is awesome sounding, and I want to do this from now on. That's why it's so important for the music education in young kids.
Yeah.
It definitely it's for the positive, and it changed me. Because I was exposed to early on. I was exposed to gangs too
Yeah.
and stuff, and I lived on the furthest part of Los Angeles. It wasn't the roughest, but it was still there. And
Yeah.
I actually in junior high, I was in a crossroads, and actually this is when bloodshed was going on. There's always people asking me to join
Oh,
gang
really?
or the music thing, and I'm like, I like music better. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I chose that.
Good choice.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So to answer your question, really, it's to start with that first grade teacher, having everyone at least try it. She didn't force anyone that didn't want to do it, but everyone at least try it. If you didn't like it, that's fine. But at least try it for a little bit, learn a few chords, and I just loved it. And so
Yeah.
from there on, that's where everything sprung about.
Was there actual kids who weren't into it?
I don't remember. I remember actually, honestly, like everyone actually participated.
Okay, good.
But after that, no other kid that I remember there really continued on after the mandatory like trial. I mean, kind of like, hey, just try this out first before you say anything.
Yeah.
And I was the only one that the teacher would have it all on the guitars along the wall, and I'm the only one that would pick it up long after she started, teaching. When she was done with that part. So.
I love that. That's so cool.
Oh yeah. So that's why I'm so grateful for that. And
That seems so like odd. Like I feel like at least when I was a kid, it was always like, clarinet or trombone or,
Mhm.
those were the most common things. Guitar was like unheard of. And
Yeah.
if I brought up guitar, I'm sure it'd be just another like, oh, it's just a phase, or it's just like, no, it's just one more thing we'll pay a lot of money for and you won't do. But and
I don't know if it was like they gave her that choice to do it. I think her name was Mrs. Money or something like that. I don't know if it's like her choice to do that as to share with the kids. I have no idea.
Hmm.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's usually the whole band setup, right? The brass.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's
So,
really I give you props, man, and I give her props. That's fantastic that someone
yeah.
would actually let kids grab a guitar. I mean, I was surprised when my kid was offered to do ukulele. They offered, I'm like, and it's like, oh, okay, sure, why not? So he plays
Yeah.
ukulele now and guitar.
That's
But
cool.
no, that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Um, so I have to ask, in regards to your brother sort of introducing you to punk, what were some of your early punk influences?
I remember vividly 7 Seconds, the
Yes,
records on
nice.
them. And then I always mention these two bands because that's the only ones I really remember. Remember this? There's so much more.
Oh yeah.
But vividly, it was 7 Seconds, and then next to it, behind it was Judge.
Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good
So
stuff,
I was
man.
exposed to some good hardcore early on too. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah. And there's plenty more that I like. You can't remember, but those are the ones I remember the most. And unfortunately, they played over here. 7 Seconds played here. I think last in LA. I think last couple of nights ago or
That's right. I heard.
something
I
like
saw
that.
something with
And
that. Yeah.
I'm really bummed I missed that. I should have got jumped on that. I have to make sure I make sure I check them out.
Yeah. Well, that's what's cool. Is it seems like everything's kind of coming back right now, which is just a dream come true with a lot of bands. Like Sunny Day Real Estate's starting to come back around again. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
I had a feeling that was gonna happen.
Well, William Goldsmith was definitely hinting at stuff for a long while,
Yeah,
and then also now it just came upon, and it was like, oh my gosh, yes, thank
it's
you,
really
God.
easy to think that because I know that he is associated with a lot of people that we know
Yeah,
and that are like in the scene, and you know, and so yeah, I'm kind of not surprised, but then yeah, I
Right.
hope given all the bands there, I hope I get a spot on the stage, you know, so I get a closer look.
Yeah,
Either way, I mean, it'll be good to see them there. So
absolutely. And I'm sure they're gonna maybe pick up where they left off. I mean, I knew they had like a single that was out before they kind of broke up again, and it's like, are they gonna continue doing
I
recording?
hope, yeah, I hope so. I hope they do. Um,
But
yeah, I know they call it a reunion tour so far, but hopefully, because like Jawbreaker, they continue on after their so-called reunion tour. When they got back together a while back,
that's right.
I think they were continuing on. You know, so I hope that's the same deal. You know,
You think they'll actually make some new music too?
I hope so. I think you know, following William, I think he was hinting at that. And
That'd be interesting.
I've been following his band Assertion,
Yes,
which is really good stuff.
they're really good. Well, good. I'm glad you're digging them too. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I like that. It's got that really cool old school, almost old school like I think I've said before. It's kind of that old rock sound of where it's kind of that emo in between, where it's almost like quicksand and hum kind of a
yeah,
feel
all
a
that.
little bit like that kind of really thick sound, which is just
Totally.
fantastic.
Yeah,
So, if you don't mind me talking about Bloodshed,
yeah, yeah. Whatever. What do you want? I'm down.
how did that sort of come to be? Like as far as because I know around that time a lot of influence was yes, this very the hardcore scene was really starting to get big, and Bloodshed has hints of that. So was that kind of the goal, or and then someone with like I don't know, just kind of came in with some emo stuff, or how did you guys kind of, sort of develop your sound with Bloodshed?
So how our band came about? So I have a cousin named Honorius H. Um, he got on the scene before us, and he was involved with a band called Outnumbered.
Mm.
There's a few people associated with that: Eric Balmer and Ryan Denny. Does that sound familiar?
Those both
Yeah.
sound very familiar.
Yeah. So they were associated with a band called Outnumbered, and you know they started playing shows. And I remember this really unforgettable show. Like it was one of my first uh, or the no, I think it was one of my very first hardcore shows in Whittier in Friendly Hills.
Yeah.
I think it was a high school because I remember it was all brick and it was like your traditional hall, like you would see in like Back to the Future, that
Yeah.
you know old school, and it was packed, dude. It was packed, and I remember seeing Focus, and they were rocking. Um, and I remember that song beside me or something, or Sam Walk Beside Me. And they had that demo. It was like a green.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. That's right.
yeah. So I really dig that. I'm like, oh my gosh, these are so good. Um, they started. I think Unashamed. I know Outnumbered started playing with Focus, and then from there, Focus and Unashamed. And so basically, my gateway was through Outnumbered, and then meeting up with Focus and Unashamed, and then uh, from there, the guitar player of Unashamed, his name is Dan, had a neighbor that I guess what I don't know if John in our band asked him if he wanted to be in the band, or he just Dan knew that he wanted a musician, and then kind of encouraged him to be in the band.
Hmm.
So I don't know how that came about, but through those three bands, I got connected. My cousin Justice, the drummer, got connected with John Cottrell and Jason, because Jason was a neighbor of John, the guitar player.
Okay.
So this street, Unashamed, this cul-de-sac in Huntington Beach, Unashamed would sometimes we'd practice simultaneously when we got together. Unashamed was next door, and Bloodshed was playing the other garage, just right by each other. And Jason, he lived just a couple houses down. So it's, all these these two bands hanging out with each other every now and then on the weekend.
That's a lot of noise.
Yeah, we would go back and forth. So that's how I got through. It's mainly through my cousin, because my cousin started getting the Christian. Like he got saved and became a born again Christian, and and then started that journey with this, getting into the Christian music scene.
Yeah.
So that's how everything started from there.
Well,
And
then,
so with that, when you're saying in terms of sound, everyone at that time was just straight into hardcore. So this but Focus to me was still kind of a little bit of poppy-ish, a little bit. I don't know.
Poppy? Really?
I don't know. That's the poppy
For
side.
hardcore?
Yeah, because I listened to at the time I was listening to death metal, so anything that wasn't harder than that, it seemed rather soft to me. And hardcore was like a lot more mellow and a lot more mellower. Still edgy, but not as intense as that.
Yeah.
So that's why, to me, I was like, oh, it's kind of a little poppy-ish to me for some reason. But so for the longest time, we were just in this total hard, whatever was edgy and heavy. That's what we were into. But eventually, so John Cottrell was the most influential in our changing, because he was so quick, so ahead of us, and ahead of his time, and more privy to what was going on at the time for like the newer music that was coming out. He was so quick that he got over music a lot faster than we did.
Oh, really?
I mean, he never really quit that type of music, got into classical, and really started pursuing his mathematical.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he really got into that, which is kudos. I mean, because not everyone ends up staying in music as like either a career or, not everyone they don't see themselves doing that full time.
Yeah.
The road. So it's so he outgrew being in a band and all that stuff much faster than us. We stuck with it, but he's the one that got out of it.
Okay.
But when in '95, well, before that, he was getting to bands that were having that sound of melodic singing and stuff, and even and a lot of them started branching out to like funky beats, But this is where Fugazi and all that stuff. Okay. We started listening to that, and that was really key. Once Fugazi got into our the mix of things, that changed me.
Really? Wow.
I mean, I was into funk before I got into metal. Funk music from back then.
I know no funk, but I know the genre.
I'm having trouble thinking of names to myself right now.
That's okay.
But like Red Hot Chili Peppers, that they're from that funk era too.
Okay, yeah,
they're heavily into the slapping bass and all that stuff. So I was into that. So when Fugazi came out, they were a mix of everything.
Yeah, they were.
And then, so with that influence, and we were just getting burnt out and being hard all the time. And angry. We're like, I'm not so angry anymore. Can we just do something more happy? Some of us were getting so burnt out that we started a band called the Happy Teddy Bears.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so complete contrast. And oh man, it was just funky, happy. It was ridiculous. And that band actually kind of had a little Pavement esque stuff, because Jason was listening to Pavement.
Oh, okay.
So I started getting into that too as well. So we, those type of bands were influencing me, and I'm like, I'm not so angry. I kind of be a little bit more happy, kind of, and more upbeat. And then punk was the pop punk was really getting into the scene too. And I'm like, I like that too more. Like I wanted something more with melody.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where it came down to, where I was like, I'm just tired of
Yeah. Exactly.
Two of the songs are on the EP. I mean, the compilations.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're kind of similar. We were just playing E at a different, a different pattern or whatever, And,
just palming it.
Yeah, we were just kind of growing out of that, and we kind of grew as John was moving forward. Control was moving toward a different direction, and we're like, oh yeah, we kind of feel the same too, And so those bands, Fugazi, and then Helmet came out. That's a huge influence.
Yeah.
It was still edgy, but he was singing too.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so that's where Inside Out, Inside, the second song on the second compilation for Helpless Amongst Friends.
Oh, yeah.
That's really heavily Helmet influenced.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it started off edgy, and then it goes into where I come in vocally, and that's totally that's with that approach of Helmet. You know, yeah, for sure. Like we wanted to go that route. You know.
Well, that was always wasn't that always the best thing though? Like, I mean, in my opinion, I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but I always preferred when Page Hamilton sang than yelled. I didn't like his yell. I think I mean, it was very raw and is emotional, but his singing was so like engaging more than his angriness. So, but
when I was hearing scream, I was kind of turned off by it, honestly.
Yeah.
And then there were more bands more underground called Still Life. I don't know if you got rented to them.
No.
Still Life is very, very melodic. The music, it's slow, drag, and it had a lot of. What was awesome with this guy the singer had beautiful singing melodies, really beautiful because it was like heartbreak. Like you can hear whatever he was going through it was definitely some kind of aching. You can hear in his. I don't know if he was really going through pain, but the way it sounded was like very struck to me as a very like authentic feel, and it had a lot of so it was just very passionate and but yet slow, and it was really beautiful melodic vocals, and then he would get into crazy roaring, screaming, you know, dynamic life, and that was awesome about Still Life is that this dynamic, very very quiet, and then explode with this huge dynamic of screaming, and we loved that. It was a change because hardcore was just this one dynamic. It's just like, oh, okay, all right, got it, you know.
Yeah.
And so we were just growing out of it, and that's why eventually we were in the middle of this hardcore scene, and we just wanted to grow. We just wanted to change things up, and so.
So it was more. So it was a mutual thing then, as you were kind of progressing.
It was.
You were just getting your tastes, you know, honing in on your tastes, you know, a little more, and your experience of looking outside just the hardcore. With Bloodshed, how did you guys actually get on Tooth and Nail? That's one of the main questions I want to ask you. How did you get in Tooth and Nail?
It was really simple. It was quite simple because Focused, and we were really good friends with Focused and Unashamed. And
Brendan heard them and then heard you guys, or? Yeah.
And they were just like, hey, check out these 13-year-old kids doing the same thing we do, but they're like much younger than us, you know? I think that was part of the selling point too, is that we're like young too. And but yet we're playing with the big boys, you know what I mean? So by association, simply we got on, you know, we got in, but also, I guess, you know, according to other people, you know, we were pretty good for our age.
Yeah.
And with that is that we're freaking young. So like, I think in Brandon's mind, it's like, hey, this is good. I mean, they're really generally good. And then also that they're just these young kids, junior high kids or high school kids, just, you know, doing this. So
I was jealous of you guys. I was like, dude, they're like younger than us, and they were freaking Tooth and Nail, and you know, and Solace and us, and we're going, what's wrong with us, you know? But no, that's one thing that did stand out was how young you guys were. But at the same time, it was exciting too to see young guys on a big, you know, upcoming record company. So
yeah, and so it kind of goes back down to like that really cliche saying, like it's all about who you know.
Yeah, very true. Yeah,
you know, it's like,
wow.
If I didn't know my cousin, if I wasn't close to my cousin, or he didn't know those guys, I would probably be in a different direction of completely something else. You know what I mean?
True.
And so it's really these people that you run into. It's by pure coincidence and luck that I got hooked up with it, and I'm very thankful for that experience because it's a very unique one in itself. And really, that's what it was. We were playing in the same scene, and then Brandon happened to be in Irvine at the time, starting with Tooth and Nail, and those two of those bands were his like ones that he wanted to push you know, because he saw that hundreds of people were going to these shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, it was so busy. So I mean, it's like, why not? Why not sign these bands? They're drawing all these people to these venues all the time.
Yeah.
And they're all ages too, because it's hard to pull in all ages crowd, and
Absolutely.
they were doing it. It was packed all the time. It was so packed that when I did a stage dive, I wasn't scared of my own safety because there were so many people that catch me.
Someone would catch you or
Yeah,
land on.
Nowadays, it's man, I can't even jump anymore, really, anymore. The fact there's no one there anymore, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Everybody's off in their corner, just nodding their head.
yeah.
Did you actually get to meet Brandon?
Oh yeah.
I know that sounds silly, but I mean, some people don't get to meet. Like we're signed, and I've never actually met Jeff or the owner of the label.
I met him. He was always cool. See, a lot of people are kind of bitter how their deal went down.
Yeah.
But for me, I was just thankful that the music was getting out there. Like whatever I was doing, it was out in stores. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, everyone else was like, "Oh, I'm not getting paid enough," and I respect this. You have to value yourself too.
Yeah,
there's that
very true
thing where you have to value what you're doing. That's what you need to do. You need to stick up for us musicians. Need to stick up for ourselves because whatever we're doing has artistic value and it's worth getting paid for it. People paying for it. At the same time, for me, I was just thankful that we were on a label and it's getting people all over the world are hearing it.
Yeah,
I was just happy at that. So I was like, I don't know why you guys are mad.
Yeah.
This is like good exposure for us. So
yeah. Well, then with that said, then what kind of sort of became the demise of Bloodshed? Was it just kind of, hey, we all want to do our own thing. We're all like moving on, just kind of growing up.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
When John left before the second EP, he's like, you know what, he still did bands, but on a very low level, not as us where we're trying to tour.
Yeah.
So I know one of his bands was called No Ghost No Zombie, and pretty cool name.
I like that name. Yeah.
And so he was doing that, and and I forget if we did anything in college, but I know once he got into college, he was just focused. Yeah. To me, that's what he's doing now, which is cool, totally respectable. And then for us, we just grew apart. I wanted to be. I joined Rainy Days because it was upbeat and melodic. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to just do something happy and fun. And they were having fun. You know what I mean? And so, and then I think my cousin, he was kind of focused on getting ready to be a teacher of music. So he kind of focused on that for a little bit. He was still doing music. He actually joined a side band that I did. That was a side band to Rainy Days when I was playing bass with them. And then, Sean went to the Rainy Days, but then I forgot what he would do after that. We did. To sum it up, really, for that, it's just we just went our different ways because we wanted to play something different. And the main core person, John, left. He was the main songwriter, and then that I had to take over. And then at the time, I was a really big like Sunny Day Real Estate fan and Mineral and all that. And then that's where Fallbrook EP came about. I had to take over writing, and I'm like, I'm gonna write this way. We're not gonna go so much like the old, the EP anymore, but we'll still have the screaming to have that, I guess, our signature or something like that. I don't know, Yeah. So that we're still associated with hardcore, but I wanted to do more stuff like Sunny Real Estate, where there was still some edginess to it, but in melody, it was the perfect mix for me, and that's what came about of that. And then the drumming, Justice was very influenced by William Goldsmith, so there's very Sunny Real Estate type drumming in there for sure. That Sweets for a Child song, that was kind of Fugazi influenced a little bit.
Oh, really?
That's why if you hear that funky, it's kind of funky-ish kind of rhythm.
Yeah,
that's the Fugazi influence stepping in there.
Interesting, cool, okay.
Yeah. And I really wanted to go that route. We never got a chance to do a full length. I think maybe because John left and whoever was at the label or whatever said, hey, it's not worth investing anymore. But that was our route. Well, first of all, too, we broke up too. But that I have a I can't find it's on tape, but I have like a bunch of songs that are ready for a full length that was really Fugazi-ish and kind of stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I don't know where that is. So
Dang it.
yeah.
I love that stuff. I love when you find those little gems too. Like I found I have some old stuff too. I just problem is like a lot of it's on video and
Mhm.
my 8mm won't play it like it won't play the tape correctly. So it's got that stupid
Oh
line in
yeah.
the middle. So
Mhm.
the audio is off and that kind of stuff. So I'm just dying to find like some sort of converter or some sort of player to help place because I have the converter to get it to digital, and I was hoping to get it, on the internet so I can kind of show. But like
Yeah.
Solace stuff, or the first time I started playing guitar with a really small Marshall and had everything up to 11, kind of a thing, and just jumping around, my shirt off, and I'm making noise. Look at me. Um,
You gotta send me one of your older demos. I remember I had something that I enjoyed from you guys. I think
the what?
there was a demo that that I had of you guys.
Oh, really? Of Solace?
Yeah, I think so. I
Oh,
might be
wow.
confused though. Or just send me whatever you got. Send me a few MP3s. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can find any of that stuff, I'm dying to convert it because I would love to kind of because people keep on asking me like my old punk my old guitarist for my punk band Unchained. He was just asking me the other day. He said, "Hey, I heard you have all the stuff. Do you have any of it?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to convert it, but just can't find you know I can't find something to play to give it to him.
Yeah.
So, but
Separate from this cruel world, I will not be losing the head. It's just my time in the lion's den. It's just my time in the lion's den. It's just my time.
hold on. What was the fall of Stairwell, and then what was the sort of reviving of Stairwell coming back
Uh,
now?
the
'Cause
Fall
it
of
was like
Stairwell.
2003, right?
Yeah, 2003. Everyone was full on. I have to admit, everyone was full on, wanting to go full steam ahead, and I had a lot of internal issues that I was dealing with,
Okay.
and I went about it really wrong, um, about dealing with that, like kicking out members and stuff like that,
Oh, okay.
and which I definitely regret to this day. I was doing a lot of stuff internally that I didn't have the confidence to move on with the band.
Oh,
We got
okay.
signed, and yeah, there's a lot of things that I didn't. I, yeah, I was in a really dark place when we got signed, unfortunately,
Oh,
and it was bad timing, and
yeah.
and so with that, I dealt with it really wrong, where I hurt people, and mainly the band and people associated with that, and unfortunately, that's how it went down. Where I was thinking, oh yeah, if I remove this person, things will be better, and sadly, like Zach was my kind of the first target of
Oh,
my
man.
of my whatever stupid thinking was, and unfortunately, he was like the nicest and the most genuine, most person to me. What I mean, of the whole thing. Even
Yeah.
though we were all kind of dealing with other stuff too, and I guess maybe at that point we were kind of a little bit set apart for a little bit, and yeah, and I did feel a lot of pressure too, and things like that. I didn't feel like it. I just, yeah, I didn't know what I was thinking, really. And so so with that, I kind of started, unfortunately, derailed a lot of that. I had to take the blame for it, and then it was just a snowball from there. Like other members in the band knew they were next,
Yeah. Yeah.
and eventually, and then so a big portion of the band left, and then one guy that stuck with me was Tim, but he had a fiance and wanted to get serious with that.
That's right.
And then also around that time, he was like, you know what? He really had the passion to be a lawyer too. So
Yeah, he was in
got
college doing.
yeah,
Yeah, he was full force on that. Yeah.
yeah, really for force on that one. And so with that, we stuck around with Stairwell. I tried to move it along, and I guess it was kind of picking back up, but it was definitely a different sounding band. way more super indie, not as rock and roll as the Stairwell is known to be for.
Yeah.
And then from there, I still had those internal problems I was dealing with. And then from that end, and that last generation, which wasn't Stairwell that we all kind of disbanded and stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then
Look, it was kind of funny because it felt like Jonathan Dean joined the band, and just as quickly as he joined the band was over.
yeah. I mean,
I felt bad for the guy because I was like, oh man, this is what he wanted to do. Him and Tim were friends, and yeah.
I mean, he joined when we had this awesome momentum. I mean, we
Mhm.
barely got together, started playing, played a few shows, and said we're set. It was before summer. We're like, we're gonna go tour this summer, and it was only like a few months, not too many months before. It was pretty much at the beginning of the year that I said, okay, by this summer we're gonna go on tour. We did it, and even before that, we came out with a record. So we had this crazy momentum where we got together. We're gonna make this record, and all of a sudden, right as we were writing this record, luckily, with much thankfulness, is Chad Johnson, who was the owner of Take Hold Records, signing some really good bands, as we know. Which one of them was Under Oath, which a lot of people know where they went.
Yep.
He signed us because of Bloodshed.
Wow.
He's like, hey, you guys are Bloodshed? You have this new band? Okay, I'll just sign you guys. Yeah. So it goes to show, I mean, again, it's coming down where it's like all these people, it's all who you know.
Yeah.
Like if I wasn't, if I didn't know my cousin or whatever, I wanted to join Bloodshed, and because of Bloodshed, Chad probably wouldn't have picked us up.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, just with that soul, credit of being in Bloodshed, he's like, I'll just sign you guys.
That's insane.
Yeah, and gave us a budget, and we recorded at the Green Room, the infamous Green Room where Starflyer 59 recorded their awesome silver album at. And then went on the road, and then did our thing for a little bit, and then caught the eye of Hopeless Records down the line. Yeah, that's where it came down to. So I had to play. Unfortunately, play in the demise of Stairwell as it got this momentum. And so, as and I eventually got married. Not too long after Stairwell broke up and stuff. And so, fast forward now to this year, my wife at the time was doing shows for Fullerton, and
oh wow, okay.
The Day of Music. It was kind of a yearly thing every June.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it always landed a certain day. It was coinciding with I think it was like a festival that the French, I think it was a French thing, I don't know, would do every year, and it was a music festival. So we were kind of really involved in trying to do that, and then one of the ideas was to bring Stairwell in the mix just for fun. And so I talked to Zach a little bit before just to say sorry about everything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's like, hey, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So we made amends already by this time this idea was about. And Zach wasn't really super opposed to it. He's like, I guess maybe we'll play that show, but he was he has his own family, and he's a firefighter, so he has a lot of commitment to that. So it was really hard to get him going too as well to get this to happen. You could even play that, but Furnace Fest came up, and after the pandemic, or in the middle of it, Chad, I guess, approached him. I think Chad Johnson, and Zach's like, that would be fun. It'd be fun seeing all our old friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's what really got him the gears turning in his head about really pushing it. I think from what I remember my conversation with him, that he was interested in doing it, but this what really drove him to really start really getting you going. And so so we've been in talks, but he was dealing with some injury, unfortunately. Chad was trying to get us on the first one, but it just didn't happen, unfortunately. And so I just kept tabs with Chad throughout the year,
Smart.
Yeah, just kept on checking in. Hey, we're still interested. Let us know. We'll play the next one if not. Um, and so months ago, when I talked to Chad again, and I'm like, hey, we'll go. We'll play for free. You don't have to pay us. We'll sleep on the ground. Don't worry about lodging. We'll hitchhike
We
or
got
something.
cars.
Yeah. But he's like, well, we'll have to send you a proposal. I was like, okay, well, free. I don't think free can't beat anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they did send us. He finally, he said, hey, I want you guys on, but I need to talk to other people because it's just not him anymore. It's just it's a group, a team that's making the decisions.
Yeah.
So fortunately, it was allowed that we were able to play, and then we got a proposal. We were like, of course we'll take this. A lot better than getting paid zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just get some tabs with them. That which led up to the announcement of us playing and everything. Just getting ready, and it was also to a point where, while Zach was injured, he had a lot to think about. A lot of stuff that he's like, I really miss music.
Yeah.
One of his family members was like, hey, you're not so happy. What's up? I mean, he was happy. Don't get me wrong. He was really happy, in his family and everything. But there was something else that was missing that family member picked up on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
Damn.
you know what? Here's some. I think he's the one. I might get this confused with someone else, but I think someone in his family said, I'm getting you this gear. Here you go.
Really?
Yeah. So that helped him kind of like
Wow.
get that spark to start recording music. And that's when he started hitting me up too. Like, hey man, I just miss music. This is just do this as an appreciation of music and just an appreciation of music and just for the love of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, because I was, when he approached me again, I was at a certain time in my life where I was really going through a major transition in my life, which is not too long ago. And I said, why not? Shoot, you lose and you win some. To be doing Stairwell again was kind of like an unfinished business for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know it's just something I regret, dropping at the time. So with Zach being missing music so much, and him, made amends, and it worked out towards like, okay, let's just bring back Stairwell, and just do this for as long as we feel like it, and with for within the parameters of our family life and everything, and let's do this. And I started throwing back songs back and forth with him, and then Lions Den then came about, and I brought that up just for something. I went ahead and moved forward with that and released it just to get something out to kind of like say, hey, we're back. Yeah. So with Chad giving us that go ahead, prior to Stairwell getting back together, what really enforced the drive to do Stairwell 2 was Jeff Jackaway from Unashamed. I don't know if you ever knew him, the singer of Unashamed.
I never knew him, no.
Okay. So he was in Rainy Days too as a bass player, and I always knew that from then, like, he was not just only a screamer from Unashamed, he was an instrumentalist, and quite a decent one. So I always had that in my mind. This is back in the late 90s. I hung out with him a few times, and I was flattered. He actually asked. We like decade or so years later down the line, after Bloodshed and the Unashamed era, I would meet up with him and kind of catch up where he was at. So I kind of caught up, to see what he was doing. So we remained in touch for a while, and then there was a big gap in between. But then he kind of resurfaced again, and at the time when I was going through my own kind of ordeal, he's kind of going through his ordeal, and I kind of wanted to, I had a band that I had to leave just because I was cultivating this whole past decade. I had to leave because it had so much ties with what I was going through in my past that I had to move forward from.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I had to leave that behind because it's too much connected to that. So I was talking to Jeff, from the singer from Unashamed, like, hey, let's go try to start something. So we meet up at Claremont, and I still had Zach. We spoke about getting back together already because of the 2021 Furnace Fest, and he's like, we'll get together soon enough. I'm just gonna deal with some stuff. So waiting on him, and so Jeff Jackaway and I were just trying to see what we want to do band like. Hey, what kind of project do you want to start? And I asked him, like, what should we do? Hey, I know that we're trying to get on Furnace Fest. I don't know if you want to be in that as well. And he was like, yeah, oh man, that'd be awesome. If we can get into that. And I was like, so what do you want to kind of push, like, as far as our main project, what we do? He's like, well, why don't you just do Stairwell? I mean, that's it has its kind of a name for itself. I think kind of seems logical that a lot of people know that already. Yeah. And it seems like Zach wants to kind of jump in when he can. I was like, well, that's quite a good idea. So within that conversation, I was ready to go in a different direction. Because let's push Stairwell again.
Yeah.
Since you're trying to bring that up anyway. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, that's what, somewhat established. So I mentioned that to Zach, and he was like, okay, cool. Yeah. So it was us three for a little bit. And then we had another drummer that was interested, and he actually recorded on the Lion's Den demo.
Oh, okay, good.
I mean the single, our first single. His name is John Wilson.
Okay.
And so he played drums on that, but unfortunately he couldn't move forward. He just had a lot on his plate. He's like, I can't move you guys. So unfortunately, even though he seemed like a really great guy and definitely a good drummer for sure, he had to move on. So we were kind of drummerless still, but we had the core. And then God bless my cousin. I know he's a great drummer, and I always try to get him to whatever I do, but he's always, I want to do this. He always has another project in mind that he'd rather do. Not to say that he's better than me or whatever. It's just like, he has his heart set on this, so he's always back and forth with whatever I do, and it was just by coincidence, not coincidence. He's like, because he was playing a couple bands that kind of made a name for themselves right now. He was playing for this guy, awesome gentleman named Scott Poppenstein from Real Big Fish. He was a trumpet player. He started his band called the Littlest Man Band, and my cousin played with that, but due to some commitment restraints, he had to step away from that. And then he was playing for this awesome ska band called Bite Me Bambi. I like him a lot. I like that band a lot. He went on road with him too, so he got in this mode where I was happy he was playing drums again, and music, doing something he loves, music, because he was off doing something else. But he had to step away from that, and then he found out that because I asked him initially, do you want to play for my band Stairwell? I mean, you played bass before. He's like, no, I'm good. I'm not busy. But then sure enough, like when he's like, hey, you're playing Furnace Fest? And I'm like, yeah, Justice. We are. He's like, can I play? I'm like, of course. You're my cousin. At the same time,
like, now
yeah, you just want to join because now you want to join us now, huh?
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I love no matter what, with or not, without, I always, support him, but
yeah,
like, yeah, can I play? I'm like, fine, of course. So with that, so we had that lineup so far, so fourth, and then really on it, a big. So I was just ready for us to be a 4-piece, but Zach knew this guy named Andy Lara, who's been quite a few bands. And he's I forgot his band. Sorry, I should know this by now. I'm really ashamed. His band got signed though, and went on the road for a little bit too as well. They were associated with Atreyu. They were associated.
Oh
with
yeah.
that. So he's associated. Okay. Yeah, he's affiliated with that. I should know his band right now. This is stupid. I'm but that he's like such a key member in our band now. So Zach knew him for a long time, and Zach's like, "Gosh, I know it. I think we should just go back to our third guitar player too. Just we should go back to that format as well."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. More the merrier. Can you play keys?" He's like, "I think so. Oh, whatever. Just have him jump on." And this guy is so talented, and he really helped push our social media. Like, he's really good with that stuff, much better than me. And he took our photos, and he's just quite talented man all around, and definitely a very talented musician as well. So we're very lucky to have him. So he's our latest addition, Andy Lara. So
Nice.
I can't wait to be playing with him. We already kind of practiced a little bit as a 3-piece because me, Jeff, and Laura, just the string guys, but unfortunately the other guys couldn't make it. But that's up to date for the current Stairwell right now. And we're trying to play a few shows before Furnace Fest, and
sort of shake off the dust,
exactly,
so to speak.
And I'm trying to get a few singles in before then.
Yeah, that'd be great, man.
Yeah. And then obviously, and go from there.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about it. Very fortunate because just being announced, being part of this already, has brought a lot of attention to us. And I was thinking, what kind of? I'm curious to see what happens during and after. What will come with that for Stairwell after that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that that will catch our attention to the masses. Just for me, as I always just love writing records and getting it out. Yeah. That's just my passion. Just to be heard by someone else on the other side of the world. That's and whatever it takes to do that. I suck at the business side of it, but unfortunately, we had to do that part to kind of get known. And for me, I just wanted to get whatever I wanted to express out, and I could care less about other things that are associated with playing a band and stuff. Just to play and just enjoy the music and appreciate it. And so with that, hopefully we'll get something out soon.
Are you guys working on another demo for a song?
Yeah, there's some stuff there's some music that we're working, and unfortunately, I don't want to move as fast as with the members, because they all have to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take that step without them.
Yeah.
So there's definitely tons of material coming out that I can only go as fast as they can, and I want it to be where we're all on the same level and together, and not make those mistakes I did years back, where I'm just like, screw you guys.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that either, and I want everyone, since they're putting their extra time into this, everything's got to be equal and fair, and with thought and care too.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So with that,
nice.
whatever we can put out, I'm looking forward to that. With that, what I mean? So
yeah. Did you actually? Because do you have recording equipment to just record your own stuff? Do you ever feel like you record your own stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you follow me, you'll see my recording desk, and I bought a pretty cool preamp that from Warm Audio. That's a good middle, it's a little bit better than entry level type, but right in the middle. Then the pros obviously a lot more money, but I really like the tone, and from what I was reading, it emulates a lot of more expensive preamps, and so so I have that capability, and then there's a producer that I'm working with, a mixer too, his name is David Dominguez, and he's done some notable records. He's worked with Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
Weezer for that matter.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay.
Yeah. And so I met him. I met him through some funny. It's like a Tinder for musicians.
Oh boy.
And funny, he was the first.
Oh yeah, was it called? Is it a band mix?
Yeah, no, Vampire or whatever.
Oh, I've heard of that one too. Yeah.
Yeah. So band mix, that kind of let me down. I'm not really happy with that one. uh, what do you call? Oh yeah, so he was like one of my first, or the first contact that I actually made contact with.
Holy cow.
And then I checked his like background, like, oh my gosh, dude, this guy is really experienced. But he called me, had a good long chat.
Nice.
And he turns out to be a really cool guy, well-rounded, just and the experience was really good. And he and what's cool about him is he just really wants to. I mean, obviously he wants to do it for for a living, to record, but it seems to me from what I get from him, he's also kind of passionate about what he's doing. He also wants to help bands out and also kind of do projects that he's passionate about.
Yeah.
So that's why I like working with him, because he seems really genuinely like, I really like the music, and and I really, whoever I do with, I really enjoy the music and I'm passionate about it. So
Yeah.
that's what's awesome about him. So I a lot of stuff I'm trying to bring it through him for the new stuff, because it's nice to have someone else take care of that part while we can just worry about writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to have that have some sort of contact like that. And so hopefully within soon we can get something going.
Yeah.
Because I just can't wait, man. I mean, it sucks because like today, everyone's kind of being known for their singles. No one's not really being known for their full records like I'm used to. You know what I mean?
Around the town, I can't recover. The spell you put me under, it's just too late. 'Cause radio was playing the song that got us up to dance around.
We're all trying to do the same thing. We just want to be heard. We want to entertain people. We want to touch people. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with helping one another as well, get that out there. So
that was great. And that's I feel like that's kind of where I'm headed towards, where like whatever I'm doing, I kind of also want to we all have musicians that whatever talent that we have, even though it might not get heard by X amount of people or whatever, you got to think about that one individual person, and because to motivate them, and that's I think our job. I think all of us artists have a mission and a default job that you have to do is to just continue to promote yourself. Just to, in any means of way, if you just get out there in the street to play music or whatever it is, just to get your art out there the best way you can, and share it. And really, actually, really, that's what it is. It's sharing it, not keeping it to yourself, but sharing it to someone else, just to inspire them. And I think that's a job of every artist, no matter what form that is to share that with someone else's, because that can solely just help them along in their life and inspire them in whatever they're going through or whatever. You know what I mean?
exactly. No, exactly.
So
And actually, I think that's actually a good spot where we could stop.
okay, cool.
No, I think that's the perfect thing. That's perfectly said, because that's how I feel personally as well. Yeah, if it's one person, I hope that person sees something differently through something I made, that I created.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but hey man, I know we did 3 sessions here, but
No worries.
how funny, right? I just kind of like, well, there you go. We ended up doing it. Thank you for your time, Jonathan.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's always nice to talk to familiar faces and just talk about something that we enjoy doing. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, plus it was nice to finally get to talk to you, because usually
Yeah,
we're
I
just
know.
like, hi, how you doing? Well, all right. Well, see you later.
I know. Awesome. Yeah. Keep doing what you do, man. It's good. It's great.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night, and I will definitely talk to you later, okay?
All right. Talk to you later.